This week is probably the worst week to think about what you want to do with your business next year. Whereas this time next week, that's exactly the right time to think about it.
Paul Green's
MSP Marketing
Podcast.
Let's start this week's show talking about what it is you want to achieve with your business next year. If we were to sort of jump forward a year, get in a time machine and ask you, at the end of 2023, what would you like to look back and think, yeah, I achieved that with my business? What would that thing be? I kind of started to ask you this back in episode 156 at the beginning of November, where I asked you, what's your moonshot? What's your big, hairy, audacious goal? And the reason that I kind of put these ideas in your head and talk about these things at this time of year is because we are all about to have a collective pause and a collective few days off. I think Christmas is pretty much the only time where virtually all of us get to have a few days and we get to stop. You can't really think about your business properly when you're busy, when you're rushing through things and trying to get things done. And I'm conscious that, with just a few days until Christmas and having a break and hopefully spending some time with your family, I'm very conscious that you're probably very busy right now. This week is probably the worst week to think about what you want to do with your business next year. Whereas this time next week, that's exactly the right time to think about it. Because we are all busy people getting things done. That immovable deadline of Christmas is an epic productivity hack because it's immovable. Christmas is going to happen on the 25th, whether we like it or not. So we can leverage that to get things done because we've got to down tools by a certain time. But that fills our brain. That clutters us up with things that need to be done and task lists, and that leaves very little space for big picture thinking. So that's why let's talk about that today. Next week, I'm hoping you get some downtime. I'm hoping you don't have this thing kind of cluttering up your life. I'm hoping that your laptop is closed. I'm hoping that your PSA isn't even open. I'm guessing your MSP will be closed for a few days. This is awesome because you can take the dog for a walk, or the cat, or the mongoose if you've got one, hang out with your family, have a few beers, eat a little bit too much food, watch trashy TV, go on long walks, just enjoy yourself. And crucially, not think about tickets, clients, computers, all the things that you think about. Because those things need to leave your head. You've got to start thinking about the big picture. What do we want next year? Now, your temptation may be to think, right, I want to get another technician next year and I want to get up to this turnover level and have this amount of net profit. What I suggest you do is that you and your other half spend a little bit of time talking about actually what do you two, if there is another half, what do you two want from the business next year? Because it could be that actually next year you want to pick up your kids from school every day because that's an awesome thing to do. And believe me, that's something that you will look back and be glad that you did. Maybe you want to take most Fridays off next year. Maybe you do want to double your income. You want to buy a bigger house or a better car or something like that. Maybe it's material things, maybe it's time things. But before you start thinking about what you want to do with your MSP next year, you've got to be very, very clear what you want for you next year. Because remember, the whole point of the business, the sole purpose of the business in the bigger picture is it's there to give you the lifestyle that you desire. Sure, you've got to keep the customers happy and you've got to keep them, all their technology things done. And that's from their point of view, that's the purpose of the business. That business is there to service them. But the big picture is once you've got the business off the ground and you're paying people's salaries, the purpose of the business is to give you the lifestyle that you most desire. So you've got to be very clear on what that lifestyle is. There are very few MSPs that I've met who are in this to get rich. Making good money is a nice side effect, byproduct, I guess, of doing a really, really good job. That's got to be the goal for this. But it starts with knowing exactly what you want. So please, if you can, take some time next week, chill out, relax. And you know what? Almost don't think about this. don't think too much about what you want from the business. Once you've had 2 or 3 days off, what will happen is you'll wake up one morning and it will just be there in your brain. Because what's actually happening is in the background, certainly when we sleep, a large proportion of our brain is reallocated during sleep time into problem solving. And essentially, running a business is just a massive problem. So our brain immediately sort of goes into that problem solving mode. And about 2 or 3 days into your break, you will wake up one morning and your brain will deliver to you some of the answers it's been thinking about, some of the things it's been thinking about. And certainly, particularly if you've listened to this before thinking about it, it will deliver to you what you want next year. And of course, it's worth having a chat with your other half to solidify that and make sure that you both want the same things. And as I said, they're more likely to be about time than they are about cash. If you want to share these with me, I would love to have a one-on-one conversation with you. Now, we do have thousands of listeners to this podcast, so I can't have a video call conversation with everyone, unfortunately, but I would love to have a brief email conversation with you, or indeed on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. Just go and look for Paul Green MSP Marketing, connect with me, or you can just drop me an email as well, and let's have a chat about what you want to achieve with your business next year. My email address is hello@paulgreensmspmarketing.com.
Paul Green's
MSP Marketing
Podcast.